Okay, I'm glad everyone's back today. Today's topic is called function or functional notation. This topic is a little more difficult, so we're going to spend 2 days on it. So if we're struggling today, that's okay. We're going to practice it again tomorrow. And today we're only going to work on rewriting our equations. Tomorrow we'll work on actually solving and getting the answer. So we'll kind of break it up into two parts. So this should be page 3 and 4 in your workbook. So hopefully most of us, hopefully soon all of us have our workbook. It'll just be a little bit easier for us to work on. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of skip all these notes. You're welcome to read them, but I think we just learn better in math when we jump straight to example problems. So right here in our example problem, we have this. And I know that looks kind of confusing. So what it says is g of x, and we don't need to know what that means yet, is equal to -2 times x minus 1. Well, then when I look down here at question A, you'll notice instead of g of x, I now have g of 10. So in other words, I took that x and I replaced it with 10. So I'm going to do the same thing in my equation. I'm going to take this x right here and I'm going to replace it with 10. So I'm going to rewrite this. So -2x minus 1. And again, instead of x, I'm going to change that to be 10. So I got this 10 from right here. And you'll see it's circled right there. So that's all we're going to do today is just practice rewriting our equation. Tomorrow we'll practice actually solving and getting that answer. But again, I just wanted to practice that part of it today. So let's take a look at example B now. So we're going to use this same equation that I have up here. I'm going to use a different color. We're going to use this same equation. But you'll notice here, instead of x, now we changed it to be 5. So I'm going to take that 5 and plug it in for x. So I have -2 times x minus 1. Now I'm going to have -2 times 5 minus 1. Again, all we did was take this x right here and change it to be a 5. So you can see that little line that I drew there. And again, tomorrow we'll work on actually solving them for an answer. Okay, we're going to do another example problem C. Again, I'll try and use a different color. Using this same equation up here. But now I'm going to plug in 0 for x. So my equation stays the same. I'm sorry, -2x minus 1. And I'm going to take this x and I'm going to plug in 0. So now I have -2 times 0 minus 1. And again, tomorrow we'll practice getting that actual answer. Okay, so there's our kind of 3 example problems. I'm going to jump down and do 2 more right here. So I'm going to do number 1 and number 2 with you together. So on number 1, I want you to circle this. That's the value that we're going to plug in for x, and we're going to use this equation. So you'll notice instead of a g of x, like in the examples, we use f of x, but everything stays the same. I'm still just going to take this 2 right here and plug it in for this x. So instead of 2 times x, we now have 2 times 2 plus 3. And again, that's all we're going to do today. Tomorrow we will work on actually coming up with that answer. So now let's take a look at number 2. And again, I'll switch colors for you. So now I have g of 4. And here is my equation. So again, I'm going to take this x and I'm going to replace it. So I have -3. Now instead of x, I'm going to change that to be a 4. And then I continue the rest of my equation, plus 15. Okay, so if you're working on your own, I want you guys to try 3 and 4 right now. So pause the video, try and get 3 and 4. And then once you're ready, go ahead and continue to click play. And I'm going to go through these examples right here, A, B, and C. So for these 3, I'm going to use this equation. Again, I use a P instead of a G or an X. It doesn't matter what letter that is. This is what I care about. So now I'm going to plug in -1 for X. You'll notice the only thing that looks different here is I actually have 2 different X's. So I got to plug in that -1 2 times. So right here, instead of X, I'm going to change that to be -1 squared. And I'm going to keep writing -6. And again, instead of the second X, I'm going to plug in -1 again. So the only thing that's different is I plugged in -1 2 different times. Okay, so I'm going to do one more example problem with you. I'm actually going to skip B just to give us a little more space, and I'm going to work on C over here. So I'm taking this same equation right here, and I'm going to plug in now 4. So I had X squared minus 6X. So now I'm going to plug in this 4 for this X and this X. So now I have 4 squared minus 6, and again, instead of this X, times 4. So you're welcome to go back and replay any of this. If you are not in class and you're working independently, I really want us to try and get some of the back done, but the back does look a little bit different. And so if you're struggling with that, it's okay. We'll work on that tomorrow. For sure, the front should be done, and we want to practice plugging in these values for X.